N-I-M-N-O-T-H-I, and I'm nothing. I'm nothing. I-M-N-O-T-H-I-N-I-M-N-O-T-H-I, and I'm nothing. Are you Republican or Democrat? A liberal, fascist, full of crap? I'm nothing. I'm nothing. Somebody somewhere might be something, but everybody everywhere knows that I'm nothing. Politics and dirty tricks, I got no time for stones and sticks. Politics and dirty tricks, I got no time for chasing chicks. I'm nothing. I'm nothing. Somebody somewhere might be something, but everybody everywhere knows that I'm nothing. I'm nothing, but I'm not proud, 'cause being nothing, it's not allowed. Are you gay or are you straight? Do you believe in love or do you believe in hate? I'm nothing. I'm nothing. Somebody somewhere said he was something, but to everybody everywhere I'm saying I'm nothing. I'm nothing. I'm like a cloud. I'm free to be alone in a crowd. What's your reality? It's not real to me. What's your anomaly? It is my destiny.
It's a good song for nobody. I'm nothing.
N-O-T-H-I-N-I-M-N-O-T-H-I, and I'm nothing. Nothing. Nothing.
Hey.
I'm nothing now.
I'm nobody.
And I'll be nothing when.
Then. Are you nobody?
No, no.
I'm somebody, but I'm nothing.
Has its nothing end.
Still very folky.
All right.
From Kenosha,
There you go.
Wisconsin.
That's where they're from, huh?
The Violent Femmes. Yeah, so as a Wisconsin kid, I, Captain Kickass, in case you didn't know who's speaking right now.
Right.
I, the Reverend Captain Kickass, who is from the Wisconsin area, I try to pay attention every now and again to some people from the area musically who have succeeded. And there are a few. There's Al Jarreau. You guys don't know Al? Like berries on the wine, it gets sweeter all the time.
No.
Right? R&B out of the 70s kind of a guy, right? There's very few successful musicians.
No, wait, are you from Kenosha?
No, but I'm from Wisconsin, right?
Okay.
The Milwaukee. I was born in
Okay.
Milwaukee, so like I kind of pay attention to like people who are like from sort of the general area. There was a really awesome heavy metal band called Realm, R-E-A-L-M.
Okay.
And they did a badass cover of the Beatles' Eleanor Rigby, right? And I mean super metal version, like, wow, look at all the lonely people. Like super widdly and like all fast-paced and stuff. And it's great. And if it's on YouTube right now, if you go and you search Realm Eleanor Rigby, you'll be, and you're into like metal, you'll be treated to
awesome.
a power metal version, the likes of which you have never heard before.
I'm pulling it up for the show closer.
Okay. Yes, R-E-A-L-M space Eleanor Rigby.
There it is.
Yeah, it's off of an album called, which I always wanted to name a band this album. The album is called...
Oh, wow, it's a 2-minute long thrash version of it. Okay.
Yeah. The album is called Suiciety. Suiciety.
Wait, is this another Realm album
No,
you're talking about?
isn't it the same Realm album?
This says Endless War at the
Oh,
bottom.
it
I
is
don't know if
endless.
that's the same album.
No, they did
but-
another album called Suiciety, and I always thought Suiciety would be a great band name. Right? Thanks for coming out. We are Suiciety, right? Like for a metal band or something, right? Yeah. So Realm is another Milwaukee act. I'm trying to think of who else. Who are we talking? The Violent Femmes, dude.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
out of fucking Milwaukee, man. They were folk punk, like back in the day, right? You know,
What happened to them? Are they still together? Or?
dude, they've been touring and doing albums
still?
for 30 fucking years,
That's awesome.
man.
That's cool.
They're currently touring as a 3-piece They have the singer, guitar player, the bass player, singer, and then a drummer who doesn't even play drums, dude. He plays like a Weber charcoal grill.
Huh.
Like literally, you go online and you see him. There's a big old, like a black Weber, just regular ass Weber grill, charcoal style, and he's got like some brushes for the snare, and he's just playing the Weber grill, and he's got like a little tiny snare by the side of him or whatever, and like, yeah,
Sort of like Fat Albert's band.
a little bit, yeah, yeah. And like this song that we played for the intro to the show, it says, "I'm nothing,
Yeah.
and I'm not proud, 'cause being nothing, it's not allowed." Right? And this is the mistake politically that everybody makes, right? Everybody assumes that if you're not part of what they think, then you're part of the opposite of what they think, right? If you're not a Republican, then you're a Democrat. Oh my God, you said something Democratic. You must be a Democrat. Oh my God, you said something that sounds like a Republican. You must be a Republican, right? And it's this conditioning of the mind of the general public to think that there isn't anything between these two choices, when in fact there's a whole fucking bunch. And in fact, I would argue that most people fall in between the two, choices du jour.
Well, that's actually true here in New Hampshire. It's almost true. Not most people, but the plurality of the people who are registered to vote are registered as undeclared, because New Hampshire is that sort of more independent kind of place. They are the ones who decide every election in New Hampshire. It's the undeclared voters. There are not enough Republicans and there are not enough Democrats to win a majority vote without the undeclareds coming on board. So it's kind of that way here. People here are not part of the two-party system. A lot of them.
There's a reason I'm here.
Yeah.
We've talked about, I think, between you and me and some of the other hosts, and my position on voting and stuff like that. And like I don't, if you want to vote, if you feel like voting is a particularly good way to spend your time, then go ahead and vote. I'm not stopping you. But please, if I confront you or you confront me about my position on voting, or I confront you, please be able to explain that. And I think this is where most people miss out. This is where I missed out for a majority of my life. I wasn't able to explain the things, right? Somebody would say something to me, and I would come back with something like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, and they'd question me more than like one level deep, and I wouldn't be able
Couldn't
to
do it.
I wouldn't be able to express why I believed. I would just say, oh, that's blah.
Yeah.
And I say this as like sort of being a former strict constitutionalist. And not even because that's what I chose to be, but that's just because the only thing I could point to.
Well, the founding fathers said.
I was like, I was conditioned as growing up in a religion. I was conditioned to like, well, the Bible says, right? And so like, well, when it comes to politics, well, what does the document say?
Yeah.
The founding document says,
According to the
blah,
Federalist
blah, blah.
Papers.
Right? And so this is how people should behave because, old guys hundreds of years ago said wise things and wrote them down. And that's why you should behave differently today, right? And no, that's not like you should take that into consideration, absolutely. But that should not be why you behave the way you behave today.
Damn. So, tell me about your sunglasses, Vincent. That's a cool guy. You know, he's a cool guy. He's wearing sunglasses.
No,
right?
Unfortunately not. I had
Bloodshot
too
eyes?
much. No, I had too much spare time because of a corona hoax lockdown. I masturbated too much. Now I'm blind.
God.
Oh,
Where's
why didn't you
where's
say
the
that
pen?
earlier, dude? We'd have been like, oh, we wouldn't have had you on the show or nothing. Then we could just been like, well, Vincent was going to be here, but he masturbated too much, and because of the coronavirus, he's blind.
So now you're back with your parents.
Basically sums it up, right?
No, I'm in an undisclosed location, relatively deep in the mountains.
Okay.
It's close to a river.
But you managed to come back to Keene tonight because the Jim Breuer show.
Yeah. It was told, oh, hey, Vincent, he's anti-mask. Oh, it's going to be a great time. And, I did have a good time. It's good to see everyone. Also, it's going to be an even better time because we're going to have a nightcap tonight.
That's right.
Was he anti-mask, though?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was ironic too because he's like just trashing all these people who are the mask snitches.
When
and
I was
the
trying to
ninnies.
go take a whiz in the porta potties, in the porta potty section, when he was talking about how the masks suck,
They were enforcing
is
them.
when they were trying to be. Then I got out of the thing after doing my business, and I come out and they're like, next time wear a mask. Meanwhile, Jim Brewer's on stage going, fuck the masks.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was it, Ian? I think you were there. It was Ian, yourself, and me. We were going to go to the concession table.
Yeah. Like, hey, might buy a T-shirt.
The merch table.
The merch table, yeah. And they threatened us twice that
They
they were
did.
going to kick us out.
They
and
did.
they didn't accept your religious exemption.
No, I used a medical exemption.
I'm sorry,
Yep.
a
And they
medical
said that's
exemption.
not acceptable. The state won't allow that. The state might shut us down if we let you walk around without a mask
They
on.
never actually confronted me personally, and by that I say that like when I was walking, they said something to Ian, and Ian said something back, and then they looked at me, and I just sort of nodded and pointed at Ian when he said, "I'm medical exemption." I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
me medical exemption.
And I was hiding behind you.
I'm sort of cavemanning it, right?
And
I'm
we
like,
couldn't
me,
even
medical,
find
yes.
we couldn't even find our way to the merchandise table. They had all this
They
fucking
rejected
tape out.
us
yeah, that was
before we could
ridiculous.
get to the merch
Right,
table.
we were trying to figure out how to get to the thing, like without busting down
Like-
their tape that
Right,
they had put
like
up
they were
everywhere.
expecting like several 100,000 people to be
in the
woven
line.
into their
Yeah.
back and forth fucking merch table shit.
Oh, yeah.
That like I'm like, really? Can I just like cross one line right now
Yeah.
and buy a T-shirt?
And
they're
come
like,
over there?
no,
No.
And I'm
Oh,
like,
and you don't have a
okay,
mask.
Bye bye.
And you don't have a mask, so you can't even come close to the merch table.
Look,
so
I don't
just
have
stay
a lot
away.
of money, but I was intoxicated by
Yeah.
the time we got there, and not in a bad way, but
Mm-hmm.
like in a good way. And I probably would have bought something
Yeah.
at the merch table had we gone up there and they
They
given us
guaranteed we-
any shit.
Yeah, they guaranteed we didn't buy anything. Like maybe we would have bought something,
Yeah.
maybe we wouldn't have,
I'd
but
have
we
probably
definitely
spent
didn't buy
$20
anything.
to $100 depending on
Yeah.
what they had and how cool they were and how cool the merch was.
Yeah. Look, so we talked a lot about this event last night on Free Talk Live. Nobody and I, we did a pre-recorded show that aired tonight, and we spent like an hour. I played the Jim Brewer interview that
Nice.
kind of prefaced
I guess
all
your
of this.
mayor's a Nazi, huh?
Yeah. And so I thought, this is going to be a great show, and it was a good show. There's no doubt. Jim Brewer was entertaining. He did, I think, a pretty good show considering the venue, which was not what it should have been. And you met a guy, Captain Kickass, in
I
a
did.
bar, I guess, at one point, who really talked up this venue.
Several weeks ago,
Yeah.
a couple of months ago.
He made this venue sound like it was hands off. Once you got in, there was no problems, no hassles, no nothing, and it was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, the opposite of the way this guy described. Now, this guy probably had a decade on me. But like he went with his wife and like it was their first foray out of the house after, post lockdown, right? Whatever that fucking means, right? Oh, you mean you didn't leave your fucking house for like 3 months because the government said
man.
so? And so, he was like, it was more like a party.
So to him, it felt freewheeling. So that's it. It's a difference in perspective, right?
is, yeah.
So this guy is like a lockdown person or whatever. So he comes to this event and he feels like, oh my God, things are getting crazy, and we're there and we're like, this is fucking ridiculous. There's masked people everywhere. There's enforcers, and we almost got thrown out of there.
Yeah.
Again, I love Jim Brewer. He's a great comedian. He put together a hell of a show considering the circumstances, right? Like I thought he was spot on. And
He went off. I mean,
he did as good a show as he could have possibly done under the
I think so.
circumstances. And I think the reception for him doing this kind of show could have been better had the venue not been such a Nazi fucking internment camp.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you guys are on yard time.
Yeah.
Here's your yard time, right? You got to stand over here just like this. You can't put your right foot up. You can only put your left foot up onto a thing if you're tired, if your foot is tired. If you have to go to the bathroom, you can't fucking go to the bathroom unless we tell you it's cool. If you do anything we don't like, you can't go to the bathroom. And then when the thing's over, you got to go back to your fucking prison cell.
Yeah.
Just like yard time.
What I want to know is what all these people, like the mask snitches and then the masked Nazis who are, in the yellow, yellow vests. I want to know what they were thinking when he was telling those jokes, right? Did they have enough
good question.
self-awareness
Oh,
to
dude,
realize,
good
hey,
question.
that's
Totally.
me?
Absolutely.
Oh, hey, nobody's here.
That's precisely what they were doing to me when Jim Breuer was talking about how much the mask thing sucked. Right? They were totally like I was trying to go and have a whiz, take a pee, drain the main vein, right? Whatever the fuck you want to call, the euphemism for me, urinating, urinator, right?
No,
like,
you gotta have the mask on.
And like both times that I went, they caught me on the way out, not on the way in.
Same thing for me. The one time I went on the way out.
They were like, next time wear a mask, and I'm like, okay. And what I mean, in case you're listening tonight, yellow vest motherfuckers at the fucking venue tonight. In case you're listening, what I meant by okay was fuck you.
Off.
Yeah.
Huge middle finger in your general fucking direction, you fucking Nazi pieces of shit.
And the thing is, this is, my first thought, the funny thing though, my first thought was, well, they're just doing their job.
That's their first
and they
thought.
are doing what they got paid to do.
That's their first thought.
Really, I would, it is their first thought. But, that's, it's a fucked up situation because, frankly, if that was purely private property, then I would say you have a right to have whatever policies you want. What angers me is those are not the policies that the owners of the property want. They're the policies that the government forced on.
Well, that's just it. The thing is, we don't know.
Right.
We don't know what those owners would choose if the government wasn't forcing those policies.
We do know that the threat of government force is going to have a huge chilling effect on their decision-making process.
Absolutely.
So I guarantee that even if they never once communicated with the government played a huge and fear of the government, abject terror, because every business, they're trying to put every small business in America out of business. They are trying to make us completely dependent on the big corporations. And so I understand these guys, trying to do what they think they can get away with and still do a show next time.
I read a thing.
They could have gotten away with way
I read
more.
a thing in the last couple of days, and I might have it on my show prep for later, but apparently half, 49%. Of all small businesses, this is businesses that employ under 100 people in San Francisco, California, have closed forever.
Yeah, and the other ones are hurting.
Since the government overreach on the COVID mandates.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, they won't say it like that. What they say is the article that I read.
Oh yeah, they always say the COVID did it.
There was COVID-19. Shuts down. COVID-19 shuts down 49% of businesses in San Francisco. No, that's not what happened. If the government didn't say shut the fuck down, 49% of those businesses would have never shut down.
Yeah.
They would have remained fucking open and continued to do business in some way or another that was compliant with the market demand.
Yeah, it's not just San Francisco. I just looked up the San Francisco details, and they actually show here a chart of businesses that are closed in Los Angeles, New York City.
There's a chart.
Chicago, Dallas,
It's
Fort
serious.
Worth. So L.A., you've got a total amount of closures of 11,342, but the permanent closures is 5,500 or 5,600 there.
So that's
New York
50%.
City, about 50%.
5,500.
New York City,
businesses
9,500 closed total. Permanent closures over 5,000, so a little more than 50%.
I don't care. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what city you're fucking into, what city you claim to be from, where you moved to, where your family is, whatever. 5,500 fucking businesses shut down by government mandate is wrong.
It's brutal.
Wrong.
Goddamn right. Goddamn right.
Dallas, Fort Worth, way more than 50%. 3,200 closures, of that, 1,900 of them permanent.
I wonder what the differences reflect. Is that just a difference, you think, in the health of the local economy before the thing broke out? Or, I guess it would also be the differences in public policy because, each each little area got their own, their own special flavor of gangbang.
Ranked by per capita, businesses closed per capita. Honolulu is number 1. San Francisco number 2.
Oh, see, I figured Hawaii would shut down the whole world. Those cowards.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
It's been bad in Hawaii.
Those isolationists.
Their government is the most.
They're on a freaking island.
I
call it
went
the
to
flowered
Hawaii and it's so beautiful, and I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated every minute. I couldn't smoke on the beach. I couldn't sit in a chair away from everybody else on the beach and just have a cigarette and read a book.
Wow.
I've never been. I want to go.
And it's like,
just to
guess
get a
what?
lay.
If I'm smoking and you don't like it, then stay the fuck away from me. But if you don't like my fire, don't come around, because I'm gonna burn one down.
Nobody. I had a girl ask me one time after sex. She goes, "Do you smoke after sex?" I said, "I don't know.
No.
I never looked."
Yeah. Never checked.
I smolder only.
Yeah.
I only smolder.
But I gotta say, on the whole, I had a really good time at the show. I would do it again. If there were another
Would you pay
comic
for it?
going there, huh?
Would you pay for it?
Fucking free.
Huh?
You said what?
Would you?
Would you
would
have
I pay
paid for the event? Like if another event were
I would
coming
not go-
next week,
I would-
and it was $20, would
Yeah.
you pay $20 to go and see it?
It depends. If I had a girl,
Depends the
I would take
undergarments?
the girl. If I did not have a girl, I would stay home.
All right, so it'd be a good date environment, but outside of that, you wouldn't go.
I mean, if I could go with you guys, I would go again too. But
Okay.
I
But you'd
wouldn't
pay.
go
You're
alone.
saying you'd pay.
Would you pay the $20?
Yeah, I would pay the $20.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
because what were you going to
'Cause-
do tonight? Everything else is fucking closed.
Well, what did they sell? A car was
Well, there's
$80 or
bars, and you
something?
like them, but I hate bars.
$100 for a car.
Oh, it was 100 for I think the back row or something like that.
Whatever.
or
Like
whatever.
they didn't charge
Middle row.
per ticket like a normal concert.
Yeah.
I want to make that clear to anybody who might be listening. They weren't like $20 a per. They were like, oh, we're going to charge you by the car.
We should talk a little bit more
Yeah.
about the setup though,
Which
and
makes
how this
sense
worked.
because that's how much space you take up.
So we should talk about how this works, right?
Sure.
Because people probably haven't been to one of these things.
They're weird, man.
It's weird. Yeah, there's no doubt. But they're trying. I mean, I'll give them credit for trying to do
was-
something.
Yeah,
was
I mean, it's
a depressing,
There was no
reasonable
vendors.
facsimile.
there should have been
of
vendors.
No food.
Dude, there was no concessions. at
no
all.
beer.
No beer.
No-
there wasn't
nothing.
even
But
a
it is
popcorn
better to
cart.
light a single candle than to sit and curse the
There
darkness.
wasn't even like a popcorn
and there was
cart.
a single candle.
You couldn't spend $1 for a little, tray of popcorn.
Yeah, there was
There was
nothing.
nothing.
Now,
N-O-T-H-I,
they
that bothered me.
nothing.
I was thirsty as shit.
they did allow.
I don't usually drink water.
Well, we had water and alcohol.
Yeah, we did have water. I don't usually drink.
The captain
I
had
don't usually
alcohol.
drink alcohol
I had
either.
Porta Pub, dude.
I usually drink
Okay.
like diet soda, so
Yeah.
I'm hard to buy for.
Gotcha.
It didn't
And
occur
you
to
couldn't
me there
leave.
wouldn't be anything
I'm
there.
so
You couldn't
good.
leave and go and get
Right.
something from the convenience store.
I'm
Right.
so good
But
that
still, I'm
nobody
so glad I
knew
went.
I had alcohol except those who I told.
Well,
That's the first time I've laughed in like 2 months.
Really?
Yeah, look,
I
I'm-
mean,
Really? Fuck, dude. Okay,
I mean,
well, I'm glad
pretty
you went.
close. That's
I'm glad you
the
went.
first time I've had a belly laugh.
Fuck yeah.
I am
You went.
glad that I went because I got to see Jim Brewer's show. That's the reason
Right.
I went. I was curious to see what the venue was going to do as far as their level of enforcement, because the captain, you weren't sitting in here. I think Vincent was here when we were discussing this, but the captain had run into a guy at a bar, somebody who's maybe a decade or so older than you.
Yeah.
Uh,
4 months ago or something.
yeah, and he had gone to the Blue Oyster Cult show at the same venue.
Uh-huh.
So they're having a bunch of different
And
musical
they,
acts.
and they didn't
things.
have as much enforcement then.
That's what he said, but that's the thing.
claim. I don't know this for a fact.
I think that what happened there was he was saying that this guy was like locked down. So to him, this event that he went to felt like it was not locked down, but to
Right.
us,
Right.
it felt like lockdown city.
because we don't
Well,
play
and
that
we're-
shit.
Yeah.
And we are
Homie, don't play that.
Yeah.
we are particularly opposed to said environment.
We are
right?
ornery
yeah.
about this
You know,
for sure,
the,
and
the
we
three
should
of
be.
us sitting here are specifically very opposed
Yeah.
to this type
Well,
of.
and so is Jim Brewer. I mean, he did the interview, which we played last night on Free
Yeah.
Talk Live. The band from the radio
and he
station
was in
interview.
his show, I think, as anti as he
Yeah.
could
Oh,
be.
yeah.
You
Oh,
know
the
what I
one
mean?
guy. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say overall, like he had some like ups and downs, and he even told us at the beginning of his show, he was like, you know what? Tonight, as it goes on, sometimes I'm going to suck. And people are going to be like, oh, he sucks right now. But then other times, we're going to have a lot of fun. And yeah, we had a lot of fun. And he did exactly what he told us he was going to do.
He did.
Now, I appreciate that from any sort of theatrical performance of all time. Like, that is like, I'm telling you exactly what I'm going to give you, and then I delivered exactly what I told you I was going to give you. And I respect that.
And the thing is, to me, I mean, it was almost like I've imagined doing. I mean, the way I intend to do sermons is like what I call stand-up philosophy.
Yes.
Okay, and so it's designed to be funny, but it's also designed to make a point.
Stanhope.
And that to some extent is what he did in that. Yes. And some of the stuff he delivered was really poignant, like the stuff about his dad and his recovery from that, the death of his father, and the recovery from that, but it was also funny. And that I think is a wonderful thing, being able to see the irony and tragedy, and really it's, I mean, you can't really say tragedy because the guy died of old age, and that's normal. But at the same time, it's a tragedy that, we can't just live till we're tired of it. So, that's kind of tragic on a global scale.
This might sound weird to you guys. Maybe it doesn't. Before I showed up in the Shire, before I relocated, before I moved, before I, whatever, all that stuff. That's a huge undertaking. Before I got here, I spent most of my time, I spent a lot of time talking to people who did not understand philosophy from the freedom perspective.
Right.
Right. I spent a lot of time around friends who were like, dude, you're pretty cool, and like we like your music and stuff, and you say some weird stuff that we kind of think you're right about, but we're not sure, right? You know what I mean? And then we would drink, and life would be good, and we just carry on and have a good time. And I get here, and it's like everybody already knows all of the freedom stuff that I'm about.
Right.
Yeah, we know, dude. Like, no, you're not telling it. You're preaching to the choir, bro. Like,
it's like that with everybody who's new. They're like, they just gotta.
Yeah, I mean, you come and you
be like,
get diarrhea of the mouth.
But tonight was the first time that I remember why I was driven here, right? And that's to hear somebody that's not about being here, that's not necessarily about, like, he doesn't claim to be a libertarian. He doesn't claim to be of politics really in any way, shape, or form, right? He just claims to be like a guy trying to raise his kids and have a wife and listen to some cool music every now and again.
He's definitely against political correctness.
But he's certainly... Right.
And good for him.
And so to hear it coming from somebody else observing it from a position of not libertarianism, not-ism, was refreshing to me. I really enjoyed it. Reminded me of like listening to Carlin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And going, yes, that's exactly the fucking bullshit that's going on right now. You know what I mean? Like,
that was his intention, right? Like to connect with people on that level. And he did do it, and kudos to him for doing that. And I hope that he has a successful tour. Yeah. He's going to be coming to a bunch of different places, so this was just his second stop.
Yeah. So I think he's on the way out of his career, right? This is kind of his...
is he done?
Well, I don't know. He's 48.
He's 53.
Right?
53.
Or 50.
You're
I'm 48. He's 53. I mean, but think about it. Like, he's already made his money. He's already got a nice house. And a nice what? This is probably his swan song.
Well, and I can imagine why a comedian would take early retirement right now, because it's going to get harder and harder and harder not to get canceled.
What if this is the best he can do for all time in the future?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What
if they clamp down on him more in the future?
I firmly believe that the show that we saw tonight, you, me, and this guy, and all the other people that were with us in different cars and fucking whatever, and all the other people that were there that have no idea that we do anything in front of microphones and put on shows of any kind. I think that we have seen the last of stand-up comedy.
Really?
Boy, that is really depressing. I hope you're wrong about
Well,
that.
I hope
I
I'm
am
wrong too.
certain you were
because
wrong
I
about
love
that.
stand-up comedy.
Well, I am certain you're wrong about that, and let me tell you why.
Okay.
Let me tell you why. I'm certain you're wrong about that because any one of us can rent a room, bring in a comic, put a microphone in his fucking hand,
But
and
is
then
it
laugh
illegal?
at him. Okay, and we can invite people to join us in that room. I'll hire him as a fucking minister for my church if I have to. There will be stand up.
Right, until somebody
Try to
writes,
shut me down past the First Amendment because my church says you got to laugh, motherfucker.
until somebody writes some words on some piece of paper that
Yeah,
says,
fuck them.
no, that's not cool anymore.
Well, fuck them.
Right?
It's a fucking
and
church.
that's what happens. That's what happens. People keep writing things down on a piece of paper.
And I keep
pieces of
saying,
paper.
fuck them.
Okay, but at some point, right? And so what I'm saying is like this felt like the last attempt at an art to try and make a difference in people's lives. It didn't feel like, and I'm not even saying that like it could have been any comedian. It didn't have to be Jim Breuer, right? It could have been any comedian going, well,
It had to
fuck,
be any comedian
I gotta
with some
make
balls.
I got to make the mortgage, right? And so like, oh, these guys are telling me, like listening to his producers and managers or whatever, like these guys are telling me that like I can, sell, 400 cars at $100 a piece at these like, county fair venues, and I can maybe make a tour out of that thing. Let's try and make that go, right? The difference between a one-man act and a band is huge.
Yes.
You got 5 people in a
Yeah.
band and a bus, and you got opening acts, blah, blah, blah.
Roadies.
You noticed tonight, nobody opened for Jim Brewer.
Right. He
It
was
was
right
like,
on
ladies
stage.
and gentlemen,
Boom.
Jim Brewer, right?
Yeah.
Jim Brewer. There was no opening
warm-up.
act. There was no warm-up. I realize Jim Brewer has no fucking clue who I am. But if his agent had given me a call and said, hey, Captain, do you want to come out and do you want to do like 20 minutes to open for Jim Brewer? Talk about whatever you want. Yes, absolutely. I totally would have got up on stage. I'd have done 10, 20, 15, whatever, however many fucking minutes they wanted me to do, and just to open for
They
Jim
probably
Brewer.
felt like they couldn't pay anybody else
That's
or whatever.
exactly what they felt
Or
like.
maybe they couldn't find somebody because, nobody, I agree with you. I mean, if comedy gets pushed underground, it's going to continue for
Yeah.
sure.
Comedy
but
continues,
then
yes.
you'll only get the comics with the balls to do it, right? Because
Who
there's-
wants to listen to a comic who doesn't have any fucking balls?
Well, do you like
That'll
female
just get rid of the
comics?
bad ones.
I was just watching some classic Elaine Boozler the other day, man. She's funny.
Who's that?
Elaine Boozler?
I haven't heard
Oh,
her.
dude, she's from the 80s, dude. You'd love
She's
her.
from the 80s?
Yes, yes.
So
you'd
we
love
can't
her.
hire her.
Well,
Okay,
I mean, no, she's still alive, but like, no, she was amazing
Well, I guess
in her day.
that's true. I forgot. I'm from the 80s too.
She was amazing in her day.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to check that out sometimes. Sometime. Yeah,
Her name also has booze in it, which
well,
is why I'm
that's-
attracted to
Yeah,
her.
I'm sure that would be a selling point for you. I mean, if just, it would be like if
Elaine
she came out on
Boozler,
stage
yes.
dressed like a
Hi.
joint for me.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad the show happened. I hope they put some other good shows together, but I can't say I really want to go back to that venue.
Yeah, I don't think that I would return for any after having experienced what I experienced tonight with the whole. Look, I'm well more than 6 feet away from any fucking buddy in the place.
Yep.
I'm just trying to drain the main vein. I have a full bladder.
No one's around.
I'm trying to take a whiz. I'm trying to not do it on the vast expanse of trees that are around me. Right? And they put up these like 5 fucking porta potties where you're supposed to go. That's where I'd like to go and relieve myself. But
I could understand if they put these rules in place and they promote them because they want it to look like this one thing, and then they let people kind of do whatever they want when they're there. That would have been cool. That's what I was hoping to encounter today, and
My
that's not what
guess
happened.
is that's what they did last time.
I don't
and
think
that
you're right
they
about
took
that.
shit from the from the city
Don't
about-
believe
or
it.
from the government
we
about
could
it.
get
I could be
shut down
wrong.
if
I don't
you
believe
put
it.
your mask
Okay.
on between
Because he was saying the guy he was talking
to.
to was like totally locked down for 3 months or something like that. So to somebody like that, an event like that will seem
How
like you're,
fucked
oh
up
my
is
God, you're out in
guy.
You
the
may be
risky
right.
area.
How fucked up is it that some guy working a part-time job,
Yeah.
Part-time job. These yellow vest guys, part-time. These aren't full-time.
Who the fuck
motherfuckers,
cares? You don't have
right?
to have a full-time job. Maybe
These
they
guys
got
are
other shit to
fucking
do. Maybe they're writing a fucking novel.
Part-time motherfuckers, right? How fucked up is it that a part-time guy is so protective of his job and so indoctrinated by the state that he says something like, the next time you try and take a piss, wear your mask. We could get shut down by the state if you don't.
Well, the guy who has been hired to say just that by a guy who said, if you see anybody going to the bathroom, say the next time. And
do you
the
think
thing
there's a
is,
training video
he didn't
somewhere?
fuck with you, did he?
I
mean,
say,
other than
he
saying,
fucked
and
with
I
people
guess,
all night.
I guess that's the thing is you can say whatever you want to me, and if I don't care, I don't fucking care.
But they can
So-
throw you out of the park. If
They
they
can
want to do
throw
that.
me out of the park, and if they had thrown him out, I would be just as cheesed. But they didn't. You know, they busted his balls, and to me, it's just like, yeah,
every time.
yeah,
And
it's like,
not 4
okay, you
times.
say what you got to say, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And, you know, if we really butt heads, then we're really going to butt heads. But if you're just talking shit as I'm walking away, then keep talking, because
So,
find somebody who
let's
cares
just be
for the
clear.
rest of
Let's
it if
just
you
be
want.
Clear.
You
Let's just
know?
be clear. He didn't say, my boss is going to fire me. He didn't say,
No.
He didn't say, the company that I work for could eliminate all of these positions together. The company that I work for could just go out of business. He didn't say any of these things.
But all of those things are implicit
said-
in they could shut us down.
He said specifically
They should
state,
shut us down.
The state can shut us down.
Okay. Well, did he lie?
I mean,
I mean,
who
are
knows?
The state can shut them
okay,
down.
I
for
would.
sure.
I mean, if
I would guess, yeah,
if they
the
were
state-
going to, and a
state could shut
sufficient number of
anybody
people
down,
was
right?
going to go out there with rifles and defend the venue from
If
the
I had
fucking
a-
government,
if I had a
then I would
laundromat-
stand with them. But I don't think that's going to happen.
If I had a laundromat only taking Bitcoin and the state was like, can't have none of that, I'm pretty sure they could shut me down.
Well,
Sure.
they have the guns and they have the men.
State can
and
shut
I,
anybody
And I
down.
understand why people are afraid. I get it. They're a scary group of people, no doubt about it. But
Yeah.
and it wasn't just the one guy. Like, it wasn't just the dude with the long hair. There
No,
was a
they had
woman.
clearly been instructed, or
Right,
it wouldn't,
yeah.
wouldn't have been all of them.
Yeah.
And to get the level of compliance that they got out of those employees, because employees
were
don't want to
very
do that
compliant.
shit. And as you pointed out, they're only there for 1 day or 2 days or something.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, the only way that the company would have gotten that level of compliance
Mm-hmm.
out of their yellow vests were if they absolutely demanded it.
Well,
You
they
know?
hired the
I
most
mean, I've had
compliant people.
employees.
They hired the most compliant people, because if that
Maybe.
were me in that job, I'd have just been doing other things, whatever else. I'm chatting with the person next to me. I'm fucking helping
Yeah.
somebody pull into a parking space or whatever. There's all kinds of things they can be doing
Right.
that don't involve hassling people who are just trying to go take a
Helping
fucking
the
piss.
lost child find
I
its
agree with
parents
you there.
again or
Right.
whatever, right? Yeah.
So look, and
It
I
would be
look.
the
I'm
best
sorry.
thing to do.
I don't think that the owner or whoever it is, that because there's a
Right.
security company that was hired, right?
Right,
Like they had a logo, a blazer, or whatever. I don't think the owner is going to be sending in secret shoppers not wearing a mask just to test. Oh, you didn't say anything to the guy with the
I wouldn't put
the
it
mohawk.
past them these days.
No.
The fucking or the fucking government. I can see them sending in, like they do with cigarette sales. Sending
I
in
believe
fucking
it's
kids.
govern fucking meant, not fucking government.
Huh?
Govern fucking meant, not
Govern
fucking
fucking
government.
meant.
Well, if
Is
it
that
had come down
Fucking
to
goes
it,
in the middle.
when the dude cited, he was like, "Well, it's state law." And I said, I don't think you're right
Right.
about that, is
Yeah.
what I said to him as I just walked away. I didn't want to have a conversation with this guy. Otherwise, I would have asked him, can you please cite what law you're referring to?
Right.
And then he's probably going to say, well, the governor's orders. And I want to say, well, that's not a
right.
law,
And-
is it?
The king's word was law. The governor's word is just hot air.
And on private
His
property
Excellency.
too, like
His excellency. Fuck his
you
excellency.
almost like when they say, "Oh, we could kick you out," and then you're like, "All right, fine," like a part of you backs down because you are on private property.
I didn't really say, all right, fine. I walked away.
I'm just saying, like normal people,
If that's what it
they,
had come
if they
to.
go, well, we can kick you out.
Yeah.
They generally go, all right, no, fine. Private property. You go, all right, fine. You know,
And that was one of the
could kick
questions
me
I
out,
asked myself when I got back was, all right, if this tool bag comes over here and gives us another fucking hard time and kicks us out or whatever, what
are we
do?
prepared to do?
And I thought to myself, well, I definitely want to ask him on the record. I want to get a fucking video camera out on him this time, because the previous times I'm just trying to avoid you. I'm trying to pass you. I'm trying to go do my thing, and I'm just going to go. Leave me alone. If you come to my fucking site and say you got to leave, then I am pulling out my video camera and I'm going to get it on the record, you claiming it's the state. I'm going to say I've got a medical exemption and have you tell me that it's the state law says I can't. It doesn't matter if I have a medical exemption. And then I want you to tell me what the state law is. And if you tell me it's the fucking governor's orders, I'm going to tell you that's not a law and go ahead and call the police. Now, normally I would not stay on somebody's property if it were requested of me to leave. And this is private property. It is not state-owned fairgrounds.
Sort of along the points that I was trying to make. I'm like, well, it's private property, so I kind of have like, if it were government property.
That's the thing. What goes back to
unquote,
what nobody was saying earlier. We don't know what their rules would be in the absence of the state. And so we who are respecting normally of private property are put into a strange position.
Very strange.
Where on one hand, we want to respect what a private property owner says, but on the other hand, if the private property owner is only saying the thing because somebody's got a knife to his fucking back, then...
Just to illustrate to anybody who's listening right now that really doesn't have any clue, I've gone to an outdoor festival where there was a stand-up comedian named Jim Breuer. I went with the people who are here talking with me into microphones tonight.
Thanks for the recap.
The first thing that happened was I saw some people. We parked in like row, I don't know, 34, whatever, and I saw some people down in row like 32.
B1. There weren't 30 rows.
Whatever it was. I saw some people like parked like 2 rows in front of us that I knew. We expected other people from like who we know and I saw some people, and so I just sort of carried my beverage that I had with me and I walked over there. I stepped over some like caution tape, some yellow lines of whatever.
Yeah, what was
and
up with all the fucking traps?
I went over and I said hello to my friends who were also going to see the same show, who had parked 2 rows, and they paid more, so they got a better ticket. Whatever the hell happened, right? I go over there. And as I'm leaving, not even as I'm going and saying hi to these people, as I'm leaving to come back to hang out with you fuckers, right? I'm coming back. The guy, it was a different guy. It wasn't the same ponytail guy, but a different yellow shirt guy. He was like, you really need to have a mask on to leave your area before you go into somebody else's area. And I'm like, oh, I didn't see any sign that said that. And he was like, well, that's just how it is. And I'm like, okay, thanks. And I just went back, right? Because I didn't want to fucking talk to the bastard. But what I'm saying is that, like you couldn't even go from car to car without being somebody going, hey, mask. Mask,
and that was against the rules.
It's like Markiplier, except mask.
It was
It almost made the show funnier, though. In a way, because it's
the irony.
There's people doing it to you right now. Like the one guy who hassled me.
No,
I was like, have you been listening to the show? And he was like, yeah. I was like, great. I just wanted to make sure you knew how ridiculous this was.
You are
you aware that nobody's
exactly
sick?
To me what he's making fun of you for doing right now.
Yeah.
The guy paying your salary is making fun of your dumbass harassing me for going to take a piss.
But he's not the guy paying the salary.
No.
The promotion company is paying the salary.
Vicariously.
And the thing is, those guys, I've done that shit where you steward people around at a fucking rock and roll show or a comedy show. They hire you for one day. Yeah, so it's it is hard.
Ask the Rolling Stones about how they hired the Hells Angels for one day. It would be very hard for me to take
a job and within an hour be refusing to do it and still expecting to get paid. So basically, if there were, scofflaws, I would probably say, oh, yeah, you got to do this. And like, I'm not going to do anything about it.
Right.
I care not. But I'm going to say something because that's what they paid me to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't take the job.
I wouldn't take the job, number one. But if I were that desperate, I wouldn't do it either. I would just let it happen.
I apologize for hogging all of the microphone, but I'm interested in Ian's recap of the evening.
I think we've been doing that.
Like, I mean, like, scale of 1 to 10 or whatever. Like, what was your rating of the event? Would you go to another one of these? Right.
I don't like the venue, as I said before. I mean, I don't like feeling like I'm going to get hassled just for going over to visit some friends or to go, because by the time I wanted to go and like say hi to Riaz, although we just had dinner with him, so it wasn't a big deal. But had I not already had dinner with him, like, oh hey, there's friends over there, one aisle away.
That's how I was.
Yeah, I had already been threatened at that point with being kicked. If I have to talk to you again, I'm going to tell you have to leave. And so at that point, I'm like, well, I guess they can come over here because I don't, I do want to stay and see the show, so I wasn't going to push it too hard. Then Brian, one of the guys who'd come over from the other group, he says he figured it out. As long as he walks around with a cigarette in his mouth, no fucking problem.
Oh yeah,
no one says anything.
Smoke a cigarette with it. So
if only I was a smoker.
I should teach you to smoke.
I smoked a cigarette before.
I've been not smoking for well over a decade.
Well, but what I was thinking was I wasn't in the mood to smoke, right? But what if I was like, okay, I'm just going to put the cigarette in my mouth.
Right.
Well, hey, are you going to light that cigarette or are you going to walk around without a cigarette? Are they going to get on me for not lighting the cigarette?
I'd light it.
See, I always tell people
smoking.
if I have an unlit cigarette, I'll be like, well, they don't taste as good, but they last longer.
Yeah. Or hey, I'm trying to quit smoking. Are you telling me that, look, I'm almost about to light it. Now you're telling me to. I don't know if I want to or not right now.
Wait,
okay?
I have to inhale this cigarette before I can take a piss in your porta potty?
Yeah. It's just so
Do you
fucking
want to smoke
stupid.
it for me and make sure it's safe?
And Breuer, of course, pointed out the inconsistency and the ridiculousness.
While it was happening to people.
Yeah, and that was the irony of the event.
It
for
was
sure.
the irony, and it was kind of. I thought at one point during the show. I thought, I wonder if at some point he's going to say, oh, by the way, these security people have just been busting your balls to make my point, and they're going to stop now.
I just wish there was some way we could have connected with the man and invited him on the show.
Breuer. I actually contacted his agent because the guy who did the interview that was banned from the radio station's website, that guy, obviously had contact with his agent. He
probably won't do it now that the show's over, but in advance of the show, he might.
I did it in advance.
Okay.
And never heard back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Well, I mean, maybe he's super busy. Maybe he's doing is he doing a whole tour?
But he did a local appearance.
Yeah, he's doing a whole bunch of these.
He did an appearance on the local radio station. So why wouldn't he want to do an appearance on a nationally syndicated talk show with a bunch of radio stations?
So coming up in the 80s and 90s, stand-up comedians and musicians weren't different in really any way, shape, or form other than the size of their entourage, right? Like musicians would have like a huge stage show, pyrotechnics, and a whole band and crew and semi-trucks full of shit or whatever, and have to book like arenas or whatever, to play their shit. Stand-up comedians, they're just like one dude or
a
girl,
guy in a Mazda
right?
Miata.
Like maybe you have some kind of scenery that you carry along with you.
They had a stage.
Here tonight, I was actually impressed because he had the two giant laser video screens. Right,
they had a camera crew,
and, all that kind of stuff.
I think a two-camera. Was it a two-camera shoot? I think that's what it was. Yeah, it was a two-camera shoot.
Was pretty good. They
had lighting. They had a fog machine.
I was surprised that there wasn't an opening act, but outside of that, I'm like, oh, this is a pretty, standard production. Wasn't really high class, but it was better than I expected.
It wasn't a sellout, but it wasn't low attendance. I would say it was at least half.
Couple hundred cars.
Yeah, I would say at least a couple hundred.
That's like 500 people. That's
at 5 per car. Yeah, it's at least 500.
How many?
If not 1,000.
What's the theater in town here in Keene?
It's 100 per car.
What's the theater in town?
No, it's 5 people per car.
Right, but you pay by the car, not by the person.
It was $100 per car, correct?
Right.
What we were talking about was how many people were attending. So if it was 5
I thought he
people
was trying
per car,
to figure out how much money
what's
they
the
took
capacity
in.
of the Colonial here in Keene? Like, could
I
Jim
don't know.
Breuer have played the Colonial and put 500 people into that place?
I think there were as many as 1,000. I mean, if there were 5 people per car, and there weren't for every car, but that's 1,000 people.
Let's just say,
and there might have been 250
people.
cars.
Let's just say there were 500 people.
I think the Colonial can handle 500.
Okay, so that would have been a comparable experience.
I've only been in there one time, so I don't know.
I've never been in there, so I have no clue.
Yeah, it was this year. I've lived here for 16 years, and I finally went to the Colonial Theater this year.
What'd you see?
Conan and I went to see a movie called Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, okay. Never heard of it.
Pretty entertaining. Yeah, they show movies there.
There's been a couple of things I would have seen. I would have seen Weird Al Yankovic if I'd been.
I would have seen it if I didn't have to work. And that was the thing we were talking about last night. Was like I wouldn't normally take a night off from work just to go see a movie or just to go see it would have to be something I really wanted to see. And Jim Breuer, I'm not a huge fan of or anything like that. I like him. He's fine. I mean, I thought this was a good show, and I've never really actually sat through an entire comedy set from Jim Breuer before, so this was good.
Nice.
It was good. I liked it.
You got, I mean, basically who he is tonight. Like, I've seen a whole bunch of his stuff.
Well, I mean, I've seen him on the movies.
I've only seen him live one time, and it was 20-some years ago.
In Seattle or before?
I didn't even know his
before
name.
Seattle, I think so. I think it was he opened for somebody else on some sort of. I used to go and see just like your stand-up comedy club fair. Right.
Yeah, just whoever's on.
Just whoever's coming through town. Doesn't matter, on a Tuesday night for $3 or whatever the
Mark
cover
and I
is,
would go when we'd go to New York City, which that's not happening anymore. But when we'd go to the Talkers Conference in New York City once a year in Manhattan, they had the UCB Comedy Theater, the Upright Citizens Brigade.
Nice.
Yeah, they had their own improv theater there,
nice.
and you could go and drop $5 or $7 at like 7 o'clock at night and sit there for 90 minutes and laugh your fucking ass off at all kinds of great improv.
I mean, believe it or not, in every big city, there is a whole bunch of like improv troupes going on. A whole bunch of them. Some of them do it weekly. Some of them do it, monthly. Some of them do it every 2 weeks, whatever it is. But there are a whole bunch of people teaching comedy, teaching improv who do things in big cities, generally speaking.
Okay, because I need to find one of these guys. Have you ever heard of them in Boston, you think?
I'm sure they exist in Boston.
Okay, because the thing is, that's what I need for like the nobody character. I need to build the nobody character, and part of that is going to have to be getting some acting and some because like I don't know if you've noticed. I'm sure you have. Seeing me give a speech that like my body language is really weird.
I mean,
like I move strangely when I'm doing public speaking.
Like,
and well, the thing is, it's not contributing to my message.
Your body
so, like,
language
I need
is
to fix
foreign
that.
to
I
somebody
need to
who
fix
hasn't
other
hung
things.
out with you before.
Could be.
I see it as just you expressing yourself. That's just like
the way you weird motherfucker.
You just sort of undulate in this way when
somebody.
And I don't know what that fucking is.
No, here's what it is. Somebody's going, "Oh, you don't look like a politician when you speak. In order to look like a politician, you should do these particular things.
More
1,
lying.
2, 3, and 4.
More lying.
Well, and the thing is, in order to play a parody of a politician, you have to be able to play a politician first. Then you exaggerate it a little and make it funny.
I just think that you what's the word? I think that you probably engender yourself to more people being you than you do by trying to improve what you are.
Well, I mean, the thing is, well, I don't know. I did manage to get.
I'm probably wrong.
I did manage to get some response to my run for governor.
Yes.
I was disappointed in the level of response. I was disappointed in the level of media coverage. And so in order to get more, I have to produce more people willing to say, I'm going to make some effort to make this happen. And in order to do that, I have to improve myself. I can't do it by getting worse.
Agreed.
And I can't do it by staying the same.
All right, so think of all the things.
Now, partially, I just have to have a budget starting out next time because I didn't have a dime.
Just think of all the things you weren't able to do this time, and then put them down on a piece of paper as a list.
Right.
And then do all of those things the next time.
Yeah, and the thing is, but the big problem, the biggest problem that I had this time was finding cooperation. And finding, because it's not a one man job, and like Ian, my campaign manager in denial. Thank you for doing that, even though you said you weren't. And it's kind of endearing. I appreciate the hell out of it. That's like that, but that makes a big difference to me, because the thing is, if nobody else has as enthusiasm for what I'm doing, or if I don't see a fair amount of enthusiasm for what I'm doing,
why bother?
Then my mind is thinking, okay, should I stop doing this and start doing something else? And if so, what? If I'm getting a response to what I'm doing, then it's like, okay, how can I do this thing that I'm doing now, but do it better? I'm always trying to change. Is there something in the chat?
No. I'm looking at. I just figured, well, let's go see what else Jim Breuer. Where else is he playing? I just pulled up his website with the tour dates, and I pulled up the next one.
Is there an error message?
No. Well, I mean, this whole thing's an error with this ridiculous shit going on.
Sorry, there's no more shows. Error.
Masks. So I'm looking at the next show, which actually doesn't happen for another 22 days. His next show is going to be.
He's got a quarantine between every show.
Well, maybe he's thinly booked because he can't get very many venues.
Yeah, he's getting what he can get. That's got to be it. The next one's going to be at a drive-in in apparently Scranton, Pennsylvania. The deal there is $150 a car, only 4 people per car, so more expensive by a factor.
Well, much stricter state.
$50
and
Fucking New Jersey is one of the real shit states.
Pennsylvania, but yeah, close enough. Close enough.
Oh, okay. I was thinking
Jersey? Pennsylvania?
Masks required, it says.
Wow.
Sitting outside your vehicle is permitted, but all persons must remain near their cars.
You may grab a lawn chair out of the hatchback of your, 87 frickin' Subaru.
But to their credit, food and beverages will be available for purchase on site.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
We're at the Jim Breuer show tonight. There was one thing being sold, and that is T-shirts. That was the only thing being sold.
Well, maybe. We couldn't get close enough to the booth to really see what was there.
But, you didn't smell any popcorn.
No, there was no food.
There was no beverages of any kind. Where I feel lucky that there were porta potties.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, well,
I think that's kind of a given because if you don't have porta potties, you are going to have little brown piles.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's going to look like the streets of San Francisco.
But they say, hey, no alcohol, right? Beverages, right? You can bring food, but you can't bring a grill. Right, you can't cook out. You can't have a tailgate environment, which would be the ultimate fun, right? Like if this were created pre-COVID, this would be the ultimate fun because it would be like the Jim Breuer tailgate party, right? And you would buy your ticket for $100 a car, and you would bring all the alcohol and food that you wanted to bring, and you would cook it yourself, and you would offer it up to other fucking people, and you would walk around from site to site.
Well, that's what would be going on if we owned the place, but nobody else is going to allow that.
Fun. Which
nobody else is going to allow that, bro. If you want something like that, we got to do it ourselves. And I'm down. Yeah. I'm completely down. But nobody else is going to let you run a little business out of your fucking parking spot because we're crazy. They're not.
No, we're not crazy. We're just.
Oh, we are crazy because the definition of insanity is disagreeing with the majority of the people, and we disagree with the majority of the people.
Same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
$52 if you want to go see them in an actual venue, like a sit-down place in Connecticut, where it's masks. Mask World, $52.
I'm not connected to Connecticut
for the tickets there. So, all things considered, if we had paid for it, it would have been a good price compared to some of the other venues that are going to have him.
I would have felt like I got my money's worth.
I liked being outside. That was kind of nice. It was cool to have that as a,
I was thinking,
potential
like
venue.
Sort of like somebody at some point is going to say, what was the best thing about going to see Jim Breuer at like the drive-in vibe? And I'm like, the breeze.
It could have had that vibe. Like you were talking about the tailgate party. It looked like a tailgate party, but without the energy. Without the energy.
Right.
Of
it was just like almost a tailgate party.
Yeah. It was like a depressing, shadow of a tailgate party.
It was like a tailgate party if everybody took away the grills.
And the alcohol. Well, I'm sure people brought their own alcohol as we did.
If there were like Nazis going around going like, no booze, no charcoal. This says Weber, get it the fuck out of here.
At least they didn't tell us we couldn't come in because we didn't have masks on, so we were allowed to come in, and they didn't search the car. So it could have been worse.
Though, dude.
I know.
What's next? Oh, you're not wearing an approved Jim Breuer mask on the way in. You can't come in. Right, if it doesn't have the imprint of the said brand that we're offering,
it would be a
tonight,
government mask.
If Jim Breuer were selling masks, I'd have to turn around and leave. Like if it was like you had to put this on, no, I'm
okay. But I mean, that's you and me. But what about somebody who was just born like 15 years ago?
Yeah,
they'd be like, "Oh, this is normal," and this is what they mean by the
shows,
new normal.
By the way,
this is what they mean by the new normal.
I'm the new abnormal.
They don't mean that you, who are 48 and 50, whatever years old, right? They don't mean that you are going to accept this as the new normal. What they mean is that the people who are 15 years old right now,
how about the ones who
they're
are
just
8,
going to be exactly
7.
and younger,
But
15 and younger,
how far do you
are
think
just
you can
going to be
push 'em?
like, well, because that's happened in every generation.
Remember, Johnny, you've got to put your mask
It's
on
happened,
before we go
it's
into the
happened in
store.
every generation, man.
I heard that said outside
Yes.
of, I don't know if it was Johnny, but she was talking to her kid as they were walking up to the fucking
Yes.
grocery store. We got to put our masks on before we go inside.
No, honey. There's no time for thinking. Put your mask on and do what the celebrities and the politicians say.
Which is why I really appreciate Jim Breuer and why I wanted to take the night off, because he is, he has some level of renown. He is a celebrity. He's been in comedy for 3 decades. And for anybody that comes out and takes the right side of this issue, the freedom side of this issue, I'm like, I want to give that person some business. I want, and of course, in this case, we didn't buy the tickets, but I would have bought a ticket.
I wanted to buy a
to the
shirt,
show.
but they were like, "Oh, not your mask.
Right.
You can't go to the merch table." Like, well, go fuck yourself. You don't get my money.
So I'm glad that we've got somebody like that.
I will go to JimBrewer.com and I will buy a Jim Brewer
and
t-shirt.
didn't you bring in the Van Morrison story earlier this week?
I
Wasn't
did.
that you? Yeah.
Yep.
So you got Van Morrison speaking out, Jim Brewer. There's a few of them, right?
Well, and I'm wearing a t-shirt tonight. I've
One of the
purchased
Kennedys,
2 of these.
oddly enough.
Kennedy political family.
Yeah. One of the young Kennedys is anti-vax, which I'm not anti-vax. I'm anti. I'm anti.
I'm
anti-mandatory
vax.
vax.
I'm pro-choice.
I'm pro-choice on vaccination. I'm pro-choice on everything.
I'm pro-choice on everything, but I'm definitely anti. I'm not taking this vaccine. That's for damn sure. Fuck that.
No, because if they cooked it up in 4 months, then either you've got a completely unknown, untested drug.
They're going to test it wide.
Or you've got a drug
they're
that
testing
they're
in
lying
production.
about.
They're testing in production.
You can continue on about the vaccine all you want. I just want to finish saying that I'm wearing a shirt from a rock band called Clutch.
Yep.
This is
They're on the Escape from LA soundtrack.
This is the second T-shirt from this band that I've purchased since August 7th when they did a live stream into my living room for $9.
You bought 2 shirts since August?
I bought the package deal, which got me a shirt plus the live stream, and then I spent another $12 or something to get another shirt. Now, why am I wearing that? Why am I pointing that out tonight? Well, these are artists.
I was just wondering that.
These are artists that are really good at what they do, and they have played many a packed venue.
Yep.
They're well over 10 albums into their career, 30-plus year career span, right? They're well renowned for what they do.
Okay.
And in order for them to try and make some money, they're trying to figure out how to be an artist in this government mandated new normal.
Yep.
And emphasis on government mandated. And so all they can think to do is put on a live show where they play in their jam room for people in their living rooms, like 700 people, which is what they had, which is pretty cool. Right?
Just
don't get me wrong.
Minus the energy of a live show.
But during the set that they're playing, like in between songs, they're going, well,
and here's the next one.
I hope you're cheering for us right now, because that's what would happen if we were playing for you all live right now.
Oh, man.
I can see on the screen over here that my producer Bob has told me that there's 700 people watching, so thank you everybody for watching.
Right.
But there's this definite disconnect between the artist and the audience.
Oh, look,
Well,
we got some
he can't see you.
fucking
He can't
disconnect.
hear you. Of course, there's a disconnect.
The same thing
we got some
happened
likes.
tonight.
We got likes
the
on
same thing
Facebook.
happened tonight with Jim Brewer. He was like, "Can you hear me? Am I funny?" Right? Like no comedian ever goes on stage and goes, "Am I funny?" Never, ever,
say
ever.
that.
Okay, but the reason
He
that's
did say
going
that.
Am I
on
funny?
is
He heard people laughing.
because is
said it as
because
a
of
joke,
the
but he
security
still said
issues. Basically, I think that took some of the energy out of it,
Right.
and the fact that of course, some of these people were maskers who were scared to death to be out of their house,
comedy is
probably
designed-
for the first time in 6 months.
Stand-up
They're
comedy,
trying to
nobody.
remember what the world looks like and how to walk on grass.
You've been to a stand-up comedy show in person, yes?
Yes,
Other than tonight,
yes,
like to a quaint
but
venue.
it never had any of
Right.
those features.
Right. And so stand-up comedy is designed for the most intimate
Those
of
weren't
audiences.
features.
Right?
Right.
One person in front of 100 people, 50 people, right?
Well, let's get a
this is
piece
the
of
type of thing-
piece of real estate and
This
do
is
it
the
right.
type of thing that it's designed for. Now, for somebody who's been a professional at this for 30 plus years, to go out and for the first time in his career attempt to do comedy in front of a drive-in audience.
That's why I say he did great, all things considered. Given the venue, he really did a good performance.
And given the fact that on the one hand, I mean, there was a bittersweet aspect, okay, to this entire to the entire presentation, and that's because he was talking about things and he was making them funny, but they're also very real and very wrong and very irritating.
Yep.
And so it's going to be a different show than when you're just talking shit about nothing.
That's a good point. This is more poignant.
That's why I
it's
say
more poignant.
it was to some extent a sermon.
Yeah.
It was stand-up philosophy.
Yes.
It was more important than your typical stand-up show, and that's why I wanted to go.
Absolutely.
And again, this brings me back to the statement I made earlier. If this is the new normal when it comes to performance, when it comes to ticketed shows, I predict that we have seen the last of stand-up comedy.
The last
But
gasp.
this is
We
not.
have seen the last of live concerts. We have seen the last of theater. We have seen the last, right? If this is how it's going to go, or worse than what we've seen tonight, then it's done, man, because this tonight was not an intimate performance with Jim Breuer. It was not us at the Colonial with 300 other people mashed in together side by
So
side.
is somebody
all
going to
laughing
do
at
it?
the same fucking
Is the question.
time?
Because
Who's going to
if
do
somebody
it?
does it right, it will be done right.
Sure. The question is who is willing
and for
to do
how
that?
long will that last?
Where can it be done? Because it ain't going to happen in Connecticut, I guarantee you.
I would not do it in Connecticut. I'd do it in Keene personally.
Yeah.
Or I would consider doing it in Manchester, depending on if I could get a venue.
Well, in Manchester, it'll be
but-
a $1,000 fine if they pass their new proposal
Minimum,
or
right?
whatever, right? Yeah, $1,000.
I don't know. It'd be
not wearing a
interesting to
mask.
see what happened if because remember this is a religious service. But it would be interesting. I would consider doing it anywhere in New Hampshire, really. But if there was a venue available somewhere in New Hampshire.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I am really glad that I participated in the event tonight. I'm really glad that I got to go with everybody who came. We had 3-4 carloads, right? That kind of a thing. People that we know, that kind of a thing. So I'm really glad that occurred. I really like Jim Breuer as a stand-up comedian. Again, he's one of two self-proclaimed heavy metal comedians.
He referenced a few metal bands tonight.
And he had some metal in his opening music, despite all of the funky groove that I was really getting into.
I liked it.
I love funk, man. I love funky bass, man.
Play that funky music.
Yeah,
They were
Swag
supposed
boy.
to. They were supposed to have an FM transmitter that was on the air and that people could listen in their car, but it wasn't there when the show started. I listened for a few minutes and there was nothing there, which is, I think, why the people who were parked to the left of us, why they ended up rolling their windows down, because the whole time prior to the show they'd had their windows up. The woman drove in with a mask on. In a car with whoever her partner was. The partner wasn't masked. She was masked. They never got out of their car the entire times, but they rolled their windows down because otherwise they wouldn't have been able to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually wanted to get in the car for a minute there because it was just cold.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, you could have gotten in. I mean, the windows were
And
down.
that's the other thing, too.
Okay. I didn't see they were down.
We got harassed by the yellow shirts, right? The security people,
2 of 4 were down.
the employees, right? That kind of thing. And, I don't know about you, but I also, despite that I kind of made friends with some people that I'd never met, if only for 4 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
But, I kind of felt like that I was, they weren't for me. You know what I
They
mean?
weren't for you? What do you mean?
If I didn't make friends with them at that point, that they may have turned me in.
Oh.
They may have been like,
See, I thought
this
that-
guy's not wearing a mask. Fuck this guy.
Okay. I thought so. I didn't have interactions with these guys. They didn't say anything to me when I walked by them. But apparently they gave Vincent a
instead
hard
they gave
time.
me a cookie, which was great.
Okay, but apparently they gave Vincent a hard time, and I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, he had come over and was complaining about those guys that were
at the
2
end
down.
of the-
At the very end of the
Wow.
row, said they gave him a real fucking hard time for not having a mask
those
on.
dicks.
But then what you said was that when you went over there, they admitted that they were giving people hard
They did,
times,
yeah.
and they themselves weren't wearing masks.
Right.
So that to me sounds like they were just trolling.
Yeah, it sounds like they're fucking around.
people.
Well-
Because they said something to me as I was walking by. Because I was walking by and I was laughing as I
Yeah, I
was
saw
walking
that.
by, and I'd talk some shit with them for a minute, and maybe they were trying to give me a hard time, and maybe they weren't. I don't know.
Well, what did they
And,
say to you?
I don't know. They said something about me laughing, and
I didn't hear
I
anything
don't know
about a
how
mask.
that was intended, but I was just
They
like,
were
yeah,
fucking
man, this is the
high.
first time I've
Or
felt.
drunk.
They were
This is the
really
first
high.
time I've felt human in 4 months, and then they told me they loved me as we were driving by. But
Yeah.
drunk people turn on a fucking dime.
No, I think you're correct, and I think that like if there was any sort of discrepancy with how they treated people, it was because they told me they were around 60, 62 years old. It just so happened that I think they saw me like trying to like make my way over to the Johns behind the yellow shirts, not in front of them or around them, so they didn't harass me. And so like I stopped. I just happened to stop like at the end of the thing, so that hopefully they didn't see me trying to and they were like, "You trying to go to the John, huh?" And like, "Hey, come on over, say hello," whatever kind of thing. And then they sort of befriended me, gave me a weed cookie, and it was great and whatever. But I eventually did end up going to the John, and it was fine.
And being harassed by a fucking yellow coat when
on the way out, but
there.
not on the way in.
Yeah. Hey, we got a party to go to here. The folks are visiting.
That's right.
We're going
Nightcap
to
tonight.
Nightcap week 26. Is it week 26 for Nightcap?
Wow.
That's a half a year of.
Somebody was telling me Trump
year.
bore no responsibility for this shit, and I was like, well, I'll tell you what. The Constitution does say that we're guaranteed that the states are guaranteed to maintain a Republican form of government, and that this was not that. The governor is acting as a dictator. So yes, Trump could have stepped in. He could have at least been a moral leader on this issue and said, let my people go. But instead, he shut the fuck up. So I think he's responsible as well. And what I said is, well, I've been fighting this thing since day one. So where the fuck is the cavalry?
Yeah, well, the cavalry's supposedly still coming. Come on up here, move to New Hampshire, help us out. We definitely need more people who care about freedom in one place because this shit's getting bad, and it ain't going to get better where you are. I can.
And if at first you don't succeed, try again.
We're taking you out with Realm, Eleanor Rigby. See you tomorrow.